everybody. I would like to say welcome you all to our workshop. Hybrid workshop series on Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, with emphasis on 3 pillars. 5, adaptation and mitigation. Today we will talk about adaptation and mitigation. This workshop organized by my dear colleagues, Professor Dr. Şerife Zihni Eyüpoğlu, Professor Dr. Aşkın Kiraz, Farhad Bolouri, and by myself. This is my topic, Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, with emphasis on 3 pillars. 5, adaptation and mitigation. This is our outline. I will talk about the Sustainable Development Goals, adaptation and mitigation, and environmental pillar, adaptation and mitigation. Let's start with a question. What is sustainable development? The most widely used definition, sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Sustainable Development Goals 17 SDGs, including the 169 targets and 232 indicators. For more information on the Sustainable Development Goals, we suggest our first workshop link. It's organized 6 December 2022. The topic was Hybrid Workshop on Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, with emphasis on 3 pillars. You can reach easily to our link. To practice SDGs on campus, we suggest our second workshop link. As I said, it's easy to reach, and it was the name of our activity, our workshop, Hybrid Workshop Series on Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, with emphasis on 3 pillars. 2, practice on the university campus. It organized 24 May 2023. Another occasion, another activity, to practice SDGs on cities. We suggest on our third workshop link here, you can reach it, and it's organized 29 December 2023. The last one, SDGs and youth participation, 10th May 2024. As the others, you can reach easily all these links from YouTube. Let's talk about a little bit sustainability. Let's make an introduction, the meaning of sustainability. We introduce the 3 pillars of sustainability: environmental, economic, and social justice, all of which are needed equally to be truly sustainable. The environmental pillar focuses on renewable energy, waste management, sustainable agriculture, and reducing deforestation. Economic pillar focuses on long-term growth that is using resources in a healthy balance with the ecosystem and via sustainable methods. The social pillar focuses on equity and who has access to the resources so that one group of people is not unfairly burdened at the benefit of another. 3 pillars in this workshop about adaptation and mitigation. Economic pillars will be explained by Professor Dr. Şerife Zihni Eyüpoğlu. Social pillars, Professor Dr. Aşkın Kiraz, and environmental pillar by myself. Let's say something about adaptation. What is adaptation? Adaptation is essential for achieving the SDGs because many development goals are vulnerable to climate change and environmental degradation. By integrating adaptive strategies into national policies, governments can reduce risks, build resilience, and ensure sustainable progress across all sectors. Sustainable development refers to meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Adaptation in this context means adjusting systems, policies, and practices to cope with environmental, social, and economic changes, ensuring long-term resilience and sustainability. Mitigation, another keyword for today, mitigation. Mitigation in the context of sustainable development refers to actions aimed to reducing the causes of climate change, particularly by lowering greenhouse gas emissions and enhancing carbon sinks. This concept aligns closely with Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, as climate mitigation supports environmental sustainability while promoting economic and social development. Climate change mitigation is essential for achieving the SDGs by fostering a sustainable future where economic development, environmental protection, and social equity coexist. By integrating mitigation strategies into policies and practices, countries can achieve significant progress toward a more sustainable and resilient world. After this explanation, adaptation and mitigation, let's come to the environmental pillar. We will deal with environmental pillar in focus, SDG 6, clean water and sanitation, SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, SDG 12, responsible consumption and production, SDG 13, climate action, SDG 14, life below water, and finally, SDG 15, life on land. Environmental pillar adaptation and mitigation. This section examines how adaptation and mitigation are linked in SDG 6, 7, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Let's start with SDG 6, adaptation and mitigation. SDG 6 focuses on ensuring the availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. Addressing water-related challenges requires both adaptation and mitigation strategies, especially in the phase of climate change, which affect water availability, quality, and infrastructure resilience. Drought and water scarcity. Adaptation. Develop water storage reservoirs and rainwater harvesting systems. Implement efficient irrigation technologies like drip and sprinkler systems. And mitigation, use renewable energy sources, solar or wind, for water pumping. Promote water efficient crop and reduce water intensive agricultural practices. The second topic is flooding and water-related disasters. Adaptation. Build flood protection infrastructure like levees, dams, and drainage systems. Implement floodplain management and develop flood forecasting systems. Mitigation. Restore wetlands and mangroves to absorb excess water and store carbon. Use nature-based solutions like reforestation to reduce flood risk and sequester carbon. The third one is water pollution and wastewater management. Adaptation. Develop and upgrade wastewater treatment plants to handle growing waste loads. Strengthen water quality monitoring and pollution control regulations. Mitigation. Install methane capture systems in wastewater treatment facilities for energy use. Use energy-efficient water treatment technologies to reduce carbon emissions. The fourth topic, melting glaciers and changing water sources. Adaptation. Create artificial water reservoirs and enhance natural water storage in aquifers. Develop water sharing agreements and promote water use efficiency. Mitigation. Reduce emissions from water extraction and destruction processes. Invest in climate-resilient infrastructure powered by renewable energy. Now, let's come to the SDG 7, Adaptation and Mitigation. SDG 7 focuses on ensuring access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. Both adaptation and mitigation strategies play critical roles in achieving this goal by addressing energy-related climate changes while reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Let's start with our topics. The first topic is power grid resilience in storm-prone regions. Adaptation, strengthen, and modernize power grids to withstand storms, hurricanes, and floods. Implement underground power lines and climate-resilient transmission systems. Mitigation. Shift to renewable energy sources like wind and solar to reduce reliance on fossil fuels. Develop smart grid technologies to improve energy efficiency and reduce emissions. The second topic is expanding energy access in remote areas. Adaptation, deploy off-grid renewable energy systems like solar home systems and microgrids. Use energy storage technologies to ensure consistent power supply during climate disruptions. Mitigation, promote solar, wind, and hydropower projects to minimize carbon emissions. Support clean cooking technologies like biogas and improve stoves to reduce deforestation and emissions. The third one, drought impacting hydropower production. Adaptation. Diversify energy portfolios with solar, wind, and geothermal power to reduce dependence on hydropower. Introduce water-efficient cooling systems for thermal and nuclear power plants. Mitigation, invest in renewable energy capacity to offset emissions from backup fossil fuel generators. Enhance energy storage solutions to balance supply during dry seasons. Another topic 4, heat waves increasing energy demand. Adaptation, develop energy efficient cooling technologies to reduce the strain on power grids. Promote passive cooling designs in buildings, such as green roofs and reflective surfaces. Mitigation, increase investments in solar power to meet peak energy demand during heat waves. Promote energy efficient appliances and building standards to cut emissions. This is another topic, SDG 12, Adaptation and Mitigation. We will talk about now SDG 12. SDG 12 focuses on ensuring sustainable management and efficient use of natural resources, reducing waste, and minimizing environmental impacts. Both adaptation and mitigation are essential to achieve this goal by building resilient production systems and reducing carbon emissions linked to consumption. The first related topic is sustainable agriculture and food systems. Adaptation. Use climate-resilient crop that can withstand drought and floods. Implement water-efficient irrigation and precision farming techniques. Mitigation. Promote organic farming and reduce the use of synthetic fertilizers. Minimize food waste through better storage and distribution systems. The second topic is waste management and recycling. Adaptation. Develop waste management system resilient to climate impacts like floods or heat waves. Establish recycling infrastructure that functions even during extreme weather events. Mitigation. Convert waste to energy to reduce landfill emissions. Promote the circular economy by encouraging recycling, compositing, and upcycling. Topic 3, sustainable manufacturing and industry. Adaptation. Build climate-resilient industrial infrastructure to withstand extreme temperatures and storms. Diversify supply chains to reduce climate-related production disruptions. Mitigation. Use renewable energy sources in factories to lower carbon emissions. Adopt energy-efficient technologies and processes in production. Another topic, eco-friendly consumer behavior. Adaptation. Support local production to reduce dependency on global supply chains. Shift to climate-resilient packaging and materials. Mitigation. Promote environmental conscious consumption through public campaigns. Encourage the use of products with lower carbon footprints and eco-label certifications. Another SDG, now we are talking about SDG 13, Adaptation and Mitigation. SDG 13 is dedicated to taking urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. This involves both adaptation to the adverse effects of climate change and mitigation to reduce or prevent further climate-related harm. Achieving 13 requires a comprehensive approach that integrates these two strategies to address climate change at global, national, and local levels. Let's start with the first topic, coastal cities and sea level rise. Build sea walls, levees, and storm surge barriers to protect vulnerable coastal cities from rising sea levels and storm surges. Plan for the relocation of communities in high-risk coastal areas and invest in resilient infrastructure. Mitigation. Shift to low-carbon infrastructure in coastal cities by promoting green building standards and energy-efficient construction. Encourage the use of solar and wind energy to reduce emissions from coastal cities' energy consumption. Agriculture and drought adaptation. Develop and introduce drought-tolerant crops and crops that can thrive in changing climatic conditions. Promote efficient irrigation systems, such as drip irrigation, to minimize water use in agriculture. Mitigation. Use sustainable farming practices like no-till farming and cover cropping to sequester carbon in the soil. Decrease the use of synthetic fertilizers and adopt organic farming methods that reduce nitrous oxide emissions. The third one, topic 3, energy transition and industrial sectors. Adaptation, upgrade industrial facilities to withstand extreme heat, storms, and other climate-related disruptions. Shift industrial energy supply to more diverse, resilient sources, reducing vulnerability to soil fuel supply disruptions. Mitigation, transition to renewable energy sources such as wind, solar, and geothermal in industrial processes to reduce carbon emissions. Implement energy-efficient technologies such as smart grids and energy-saving machinery to lower industrial energy consumption. Another topic, forests and land use change. Adaptation, restore degraded lands and expand forests to improve resilience against climate impact such as drought and flooding. Involve local communities in sustainable land management practices that enhance resilience to climate stresses. Mitigation, protect and expand forests to absorb carbon dioxide from atmosphere and mitigate climate change. Implement land use strategies that reduce deforestation and encourage sustainable logging and agriculture, limiting greenhouse gases emissions. Yes, now we came to the SDG 14, life below water. SDG 14 focuses on conserving and sustainably using the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. The health of marine ecosystems is critical to global biodiversity, climate regulation, and livelihoods of millions of people. Both adaptation and mitigation strategies are essential to protect marine life from climate change impacts and reduce ocean degradation. Let's start with the related topics: coral reef restoration and protection. Adaptation, implement coral restoration projects such as coral planting and breeding programs to rebuild damaged reefs. This helps protect coastal communities from storms and erosion. Research and develop heat-tolerant coral species that can withstand increasing sea temperatures caused by climate change. Mitigation, coral reefs naturally absorb and store carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, playing a role in mitigating climate change. By reducing carbon dioxide emissions globally, we can slow the rate of ocean acidification, which is a threat to coral health and biodiversity. The second topic is mangrove forests and coastal protection. Adaptation, restore and protect mangrove forests, which act as natural barriers against rising sea levels, storm surges, and coastal erosions. Engage local communities in mangrove conservation to enhance coastal resilience to climate impacts, such as hurricanes and flooding. Mitigation: mangroves sequester large amounts of carbon in their roots and soil. Protecting and expanding mangrove forests help to mitigate climate change by storing carbon. Promote sustainable land management around mangrove ecosystems to prevent deforestation and loss of these vital carbon sinks. Topic 3, sustainable fisheries management. Adaptation. Adapt fisheries management strategies to changing fish stocks due to ocean warming and acidification. This includes adjusting catch quotas and fishing seasons based on changing marine ecosystems. Establish MPS to safeguard vulnerable fish populations and coral reef habitats, allowing ecosystem to recover and maintain biodiversity. Mitigation. Sustainable fishing practices reduce the depletion of fish stocks and prevent the over-exploitation of marine ecosystems, which can help maintain the carbon sequestration capabilities of ocean ecosystem. Promote eco-certification for sustainable seafood, encouraging responsible consumption and fishing practices, which help to lower the overall carbon footprint of the fishing industry. Topic 4, reducing marine pollution, plastic and nutrient pollution. Adaptation: invest in advanced technologies to remove plastics and other pollutants from the ocean. This reduces harm to marine life and improves resilience of marine ecosystems to climate stresses. Enhance waste management systems, especially in coastal areas, to prevent plastic and nutrient runoff from reaching the ocean. Mitigation: limit plastic production and use, encouraging recycling and the reduction of single use of plastics, which contribute to ocean pollution and harm marine life. Reduce nutrients runoff from agriculture by promoting sustainable farming practices, which helps prevent the creation of ocean dead zones and mitigates eutrophication caused by excess nutrients in the water. This is our last topic, SDG 15, life on land. We will talk about the relation with adaptation and mitigation. SDG 15 focuses on protecting, restoring, and promoting the sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, managing forests sustainably, combating desertification, halting and reversing land degradation, and halting biodiversity loss. Achieving this goal involves a combination of adaptation and mitigation strategies to ensure the health and resilience of land-based ecosystems, which play a critical role in addressing climate change. Let's start with the first topic, forest conservation and restoration. So, adaptation, establish and expand protected areas, safeguard natural forests, which help maintain biodiversity, regulate water cycles, and reduce the risk of flooding and landslides caused by extreme weather events. Implement forest management practices that enhance forest resilience, such as promoting diverse tree species that are better equipped to withstand changes in temperature and precipitation. Mitigation, forests are significant carbon sinks, and protecting and restoring them can capture and store large amounts of carbon dioxide from atmosphere. Mitigate climate change by reducing deforestation and forest degradation, preventing the release of stored carbon, and promoting sustainable land use practices. The second topic, sustainable agriculture and agroforestry. Adaptation, implement agroecological practices that help farmers adapt to climate change, such as using organic fertilizers, diversifying crops, and improving soil health to increase agricultural resilience to drought, flood, and pests. Introduce water-efficient irrigation methods like drip irrigation and rainwater harvesting to help farmers adapt to changing precipitation patterns. Mitigation, integrate trees into agricultural systems, capturing carbon and reducing soil erosion while enhancing biodiversity and productivity. Promote practices that prevent soil degradation, reduce emissions from fertilizers, and enhance soil's capacity to store carbon, such as reduced tillage and crop rotation. Topic 3, desertification and land restoration. Let's look at adaptation. Use techniques like crop rotation, mulching, and organic farming to restore soil fertility in areas prone to desertification. These practices enhance soil water retention, improving agricultural yields in arid regions. Implement rainwater harvesting and watershed management to adapt to increased drought and changing rainfall patterns in vulnerable areas. Mitigation, restore degraded lands through large-scale afforestation, reforestation, and agroforestry projects that sequester carbon and reduce soil erosion. Encourage the adaptation of soil carbon sequestration methods such as no-till farming and cover cropping to capture carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and restore degraded land. Topic 4, biodiversity, conservation, and protected areas. Adaptation increases size and number of protected areas to conserve habitats for threatened species, ensuring that ecosystems remain resilient to the impacts of climate change. Create wildlife corridors to help species migrate and adapt to changing climates by allowing them to move between fragmented habitats, ensuring genetic diversity and ecosystem resilience. Mitigation. Protect and restore ecosystems like forests, wetlands, and grasslands that act as a natural carbon sinks, helping sequester carbon and mitigate climate change. Promote sustainable land use practices in protect areas that maintain or increase biodiversity, reduce emissions from land use changes, and enhance ecosystem services such as carbon storage. Thank you very much for your attention and participation. For more information, you can reach to me. And in this next session, Professor Dr. Şerife Zihni Eyüpoğlu will present adaptation and mitigation in economic plan. Thank you so much.
Hello, I am Professor Dr. Şerife Eyüpoğlu, and I will be conducting a presentation based on adaptation and mitigation and the economic pillar of the Sustainable Development Goals. But before I continue, I would like to thank my colleague, Professor Dr. Hüseyin Gökçekuş, for his presentation on the environmental pillar of the SDGs and their association with adaptation and mitigation strategies. My presentation will consist, first of all, of a brief description of what we mean by adaptation and mitigation strategies. Then I will continue and I will give examples of how adaptation and mitigation strategies can be applied to the economic pillar SDGs. I will provide a few examples of interconnected adaptation and mitigation strategies, and then I will conclude my presentation. So what do we mean by the adaptation and mitigation of the SDGs? In the context of Sustainable Development Goals, adaptation and mitigation are strategies to address the challenges posed by climate change and other sustainability issues, ensuring a sustainable balance between the environmental, economic, and social pillars of sustainability. Adaptation, more specifically, adaptation involves adjusting systems, practices, and policies to reduce vulnerability and increase resilience to the effects of climate change or other such challenges. Basically, it focuses on preparing for and managing the unavoidable impacts of climate change or social and economic disruptions. The main objective of adaptation is to ensure that societies, economies, and ecosystems can withstand and thrive despite changing conditions. And the key features of adaptation strategies is that they are reactive or proactive measures. They are content-specific measures tailored to local risk, capacities, and needs, and they focus on resilience and risk management. When it comes to mitigation, we can say that mitigation involves reducing or preventing the causes of climate change or other sustainability challenges, primarily by limiting greenhouse gas emissions and enhancing carbon sinks. Basically, it focuses on addressing the root causes to minimize future risks. The main objective of mitigation is to slow, stop, or reverse the progression of climate change and its associated effects. And the key features of mitigation strategies is they are long-term and preventive measures. They require systematic changes in energy, industry, transportation, and land use practices. And importantly, a global effort for collective benefit is required. Okay, now I will continue and discuss how adaptation and mitigation strategies can be applied to the economic aspects of the SDGs. As you can see, the economic pillar consists of 5 SDGs. Number 1, no poverty. Number 2, zero hunger. Number 3, good health and well-being. Number 8, decent work and economic growth. And number 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Okay, first of all, I will start with SDG number 1, end poverty in all its forms everywhere by 2030. I will give some examples of adaptation and mitigation strategies that can be applied to help in the attainment of this goal. So first of all, when it comes to adaptation strategies, one example can be developing resilient livelihoods. This involves supporting vulnerable populations in adapting to climate-induced economic disruptions, such as extreme weather or natural disasters. So, for example, it is possible to create job opportunities in climate-resilient sectors like renewable energy or sustainable agriculture, and this helps to reduce dependency on climate-sensitive activities like rain-fed farming. Another example is social protection systems, this includes expanding social safety nets like cash transfers or unemployment benefits to buffer low-income households against economic shocks. When we go to mitigation strategies, one example can be sustainable income generation. This involves promoting sustainable business models to create long-term job opportunities without depleting resources. For example, microfinance programs for small businesses in renewable energy. And another example strategy is reducing energy poverty, which includes investing in clean and affordable energy infrastructure for impoverished communities, thereby reducing dependency on high carbon energy sources. If we move on to SDG number 2, which is to end hunger, achieve food security and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. Example adaptation strategies include climate resilient agriculture, implementing farming techniques such as drought resistant crops and water efficient irrigation systems, which ensures stable food production even under adverse conditions. For example, agroforestry systems improve land productivity and provide alternative sources of income. Another example strategy is diversified food systems, which involves encouraging the diversification of crops and livestock to buffer against single crop failures due to changing weather patterns. When it comes to mitigation strategies, an example includes sustainable food production. This involves reducing agricultural emissions through practices like precision farming and organic agriculture. And another example includes reducing food waste. This involves implementing efficient food supply chains and storage solutions to reduce post-harvest losses and emissions from decomposing waste. If we move on to SDG number 3, ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all. An example strategy for adaptation includes strengthening health systems. This involves building capacity in healthcare systems to respond to climate-related health issues, such as heat-related illnesses and waterborne infections. Examples can be installing cooling systems in hospitals and clinics, especially in regions that are prone to heat waves. Another example is healthcare access during crisis, ensuring robust delivery of healthcare during natural disasters or pandemics, for example, mobile clinics or telemedicine solutions in remote areas. And when it comes to mitigation strategies, reducing air pollution is one example. This involves encouraging industries to adopt cleaner energy sources to improve air quality, thereby reducing respiratory diseases. And number two, sustainable healthcare infrastructure. This involves building energy efficient hospitals powered by renewable reduced emissions and building energy efficient hospitals powered by renewables, which will result in reducing emissions and operational costs. When we move on to SDG number 8, promote sustained, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment and decent work for all. Example adaptation strategies include economic diversification. This involves supporting economies in shifting away from industries vulnerable to climate impacts, such as tourism reliant on specific weather conditions. And also another example, workforce resilience, promoting skill building programs that prepare workers for future demands, such as training in renewable energy and digital technologies. If we look at mitigation strategies, one example includes green job creation, investing in industries like renewable energy, waste management, and energy efficiency fosters employment opportunities while reducing emissions. For example, solar panel installations and maintenance industries. And also another example, energy efficient workplaces. This involves refitting industrial facilities with energy saving technologies, reducing both emissions and energy costs. And finally, if we look at SDG number 9, building resilient infrastructure, promoting inclusive and sustainable industrialization and fostering innovation. Example adaptation strategies include climate resilient infrastructure. This involves building roads, bridges, and industrial facilities that can withstand extreme weather conditions like hurricanes or floods. For example, it can involve building elevated roadways, especially in flood-prone regions. And innovation for resilience, encouraging research and development of technologies that help industries adapt to changing climate conditions. For example, developing materials that are both eco-friendly and durable under harsh conditions. And when it comes to mitigation strategies, sustainable industrial practices. This involves promoting cleaner production technologies that reduce emission and waste by transitioning to renewable energy powered factories. And finally, green infrastructure development. This involves building low carbon infrastructure such as electric vehicle charging networks and smart grids, supporting economic growth while also minimizing environmental impact. Okay, now I want to give 2 examples of how it is important that adaptation and mitigation efforts address several goals in an interconnected manner. Because by aligning efforts across multiple SDGs, it is possible to maximize efficiency, minimize trade-offs, and create synergies that lead to a more sustainable and impactful solution. So, for example, adaptive microfinance programs can address SDG 1, 2, and 8 in the sense that, for example, financing farmers to invest in drought-resistant crop reduces poverty and hunger, as well as ensuring economic resilience. And another example, public-private innovation hubs. This example addresses SDG 8 and 9. in the sense that collaborative spaces for developing climate-smart industrial practices and technologies can help drive sustainable economic growth. So to conclude my presentation, I can summarize that adaptation and mitigation strategies are crucial for achieving the interconnected goals of the economic pillar of sustainability. Adaptation strategies ensure that vulnerable communities can withstand the adverse impact of climate change, such as extreme weather and resource scarcity, safeguarding livelihoods, food security and health. Simultaneously, mitigation efforts aim to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, fostering long-term sustainability through innovations in renewable energy, green infrastructure, and eco-friendly industrial practices. Together, these approaches create resilient societies where economic growth is inclusive and sustainable. Industries thrive with reduced environmental footprint, and individuals are equipped with the tools and opportunities to lead healthy and productive lives. By integrating adaptation and mitigation into policy and practice, we can address immediate challenges while laying the foundation for a prosperous, equitable, and sustainable future. Thank you very much for listening to me. And now I would like to introduce my colleague, Professor Dr. Aşkın Kiraz, who will continue with her presentation based on adaptation and mitigation and the societal pillar of sustainability. Once again, thank you.
Hello, dear participants. Welcome to fifth hybrid workshop series on sustainable development goals with emphasis on 3 pillars. Special title about adaptation and mitigation. In this presentation, I want to look at social sustainability from an adaptation and mitigation perspective. My presentation's content will be as seems here. Introduction, fundamentals of social sustainability, adaptation and mitigation. Firstly, let's remember the definition and importance of social sustainability. Social sustainability is an approach that ensures the long-term resilience, adaptation, and well-being of communities. The concept focuses on elements such as social equality, human rights, social participation, justice, inclusiveness, and solidarity. Definition of the social sustainability is the capacity of societies to adapt to changing environmental, economic, and social conditions while preserving fundamental rights and social justice. Social sustainability reduces the risk of conflict, increases the social harmony, and ensures the universal protections of human rights. Here are some examples from the world. Countries like Sweden and Norway are successful examples of social sustainability with their social security systems, egalitarian policies, and high living standards. The importance of social sustainability policies has been highlighted by the social solidarity and equal access to health care during the COVID-19 pandemic. Sweden, as a country that has advanced in social sustainability, is implementing inclusive social policies that increase the well-being of its citizens. Policies such as free education and healthcare examples of these efforts. As a second subheading, I want to emphasize the concepts of adaptation and mitigation and addressing their social dimensions. Adaptation, the capacity of societies to adapt to changing conditions in order to prevent the impairment of their social structures. Adaptation includes social tools that prepare communities for change by preserving their well-being. Mitigation refers to the efforts of societies to mitigate the effects of social and environmental threats. This includes reducing inequalities, developing social policies, and making communities more resilient. In terms of the social dimension, adaptation is the establishment of peace between societies, increasing access to education and health services. Mitigation can be explained as reducing income inequality and creating social protection policies for disadvantaged groups. For example, for adaptation, the Netherlands is developing innovative solutions in water management to reduce the effects of climate change, while increasing the level of education and awareness of local people. For mitigation, in India, the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act is an important mitigation policy to reduce poverty. And now, let's remember how SDGs relate to social sustainability with real examples from the world. SDG 4, Quality Education. SDG 4 contributes to increasing educational opportunities and reducing social inequalities. For example, Ghana's pre-senior high school policy aims to reduce inequalities in secondary education. UNESCO's Learning Never Stops campaign is a global initiative to reduce educational losses during the pandemic. SDG 5 Gender Equality. Equal rights for women and men increase the adaptation of society. For example, India's Stand Up India program support women entrepreneurs. Rwanda has made significant strides in gender equality, being the country with the highest proportion of female parliamentarians. SDG 10 is reduce inequalities. Eliminating income and opportunity inequalities supports social justice. For example, Brazil's Bolsa Familia program reduces inequalities by supporting low-income families. India's Right to Education Act aims to increase access to school for children from low-income families. SDG 11 is Sustainable Cities and Communities. Accessible cities for all are the foundation of social cohesion. For example, Singapore's social housing project provides affordable housing for all. Copenhagen supports social cohesion by providing green spaces and environmentally friendly transport systems that are accessible to all. SDG 16 is peace, justice, and strong institutions. Preventing conflict and building strong institutions are key to social sustainability. For example, Rwanda's Rajaja thoughts aim to restore social peace. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission implemented in South Africa in the post-apartheid era was strategy for conflict resolution. SDG 17 is Partnership for the Goals. Global collaboration plays a critical role in achieving social sustainability. For example, child protection programs implemented by the European Union and UNICEF, and the European Union's Horizon 2020 program has funded projects aimed at increasing social sustainability in various countries. Adaptation and mitigation perspectives in social sustainability. Increasing social resilience with quality education. SDG 4. Education increases the capacity of individuals to adapt to environmental, social, and economic changes. Conscious individuals produce more effective solutions to social problems and strengthen resilience to crisis. For example, Kenya's Green School program, by providing students with information on sustainable agriculture and environmental protection, communities become more resilient to environmental problems. Bilingual education programs in Germany, by accelerating the integration of immigrant children, they increase social cohesion. Education contributes to integration and mitigation in many areas, such as reducing inequalities, promoting gender equality, and developing crisis management skills. For example, the UNESCO's Education for Sustainable Development program, by educating young people to contribute to sustainable development goals, it increases the social and environmental resilience of communities. This is the awareness training in Turkey. With this program, training programs are implemented to ensure that society is prepared for natural disasters such as earthquakes. Gender equality and social resilience. First of all, women need to be empowered. Women's participation in education, employment, and decision making increases social resilience and promotes gender equality. For example, microfinance programs in Bangladesh, microcredits provided to women through Grameen Bank have increased their economic independence and strengthened their social role. The role of women parliamentarians in Rwanda. Rwanda, where 60% of parliamentarians are women, is a successful example of women's participation in decision-making processes. Reducing gender-based inequalities is another important requirement. Preventing violence against women, eliminating wage inequality, and increasing access to women's fundamental rights strengthens social harmony. For example, wage equality law in Iceland, legislative regulations have been made to ensure wage equality between women and men in workplaces. United Nations Women's He for She campaign, a global initiative for encouraging men to join the gender equality movement. Reducing inequalities and social adaptation. First of all, the concept of social inclusion should be adopted. Social inclusion aims to ensure that every individual in society takes part in social life equally. This promotes harmony by increasing the access of disadvantaged groups to economic, cultural, and social areas. For example, Brazil's Bolsa Familia program. It is a program that reduces income inequalities by providing cash transfers to low-income families. Thanks to this, access to education and health services has increased and social harmony has been strengthened. European Union's migrant integration programs. It ensures economic and social integration by increasing the access of migrants to the labor market. Integration of disadvantaged groups into societies is another important issue. The integration of disadvantaged groups into society plays a critical role in reducing inequalities. These groups may include ethnic minorities, people with disabilities, and migrants. For example, Americans with Disabilities Act in the USA, a law that guarantees equal rights for disabled individuals in workplaces, transportation, and public areas. Social support programs in Turkey, barrier-free life centers run by the Ministry of Family and Social Services, aim to integrate disabled individuals into society. Inclusive and sustainable cities. Disaster-resilient cities support social adaptation. Disaster-resilient cities help communities become more resilient to crisis and increase social adaptation. For example, Japan's earthquake preparedness strategies. Disaster education programs that involve the whole community increase resilience and community cooperation. For example, Netherlands water management solutions improved infrastructure to respond to flood risk. It is both environmentally and socially sustainable. Access and opportunity for all in urban life should be provided. Sustainable cities provide equal access to transportation, housing, and green spaces. This increases inclusiveness in society and reduces the risk of conflict. For example, Bogota's public transportation system. Colombia's capital city has increased equity by connecting low-income areas to the center with public transportation. For example, Singapore's social housing projects provide affordable housing to prevent income disparities from negatively impacting city life. Peace and justice, adaptation and conflict reduction. The social contribution of building strong institutions is significant. Strong and fair institutions are vital to preventing corruption, ensuring the rule of law, and reducing conflict. For example, Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission process, a mechanism established to recognize the rights of indigenous people and redress historical injustice. For example, transparent governance policies. Sweden's open governance strengthens social cohesion by increasing citizens' trust in public institutions. Ensuring peaceful relations between societies is another important issue. Preventing conflict and establishing peaceful relations between societies is one of the cornerstones of sustainable development. For example, South Africa's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, a process implemented to restore social peace after apartheid. For example, Colombia's peace process, an agreement between the FARC and the government ended years of conflict. Global partnership, collaboration for solutions. Civil society organizations and governments play a critical role in achieving social sustainability goals. These collaborations ensure more efficient use of resources and broader reach of solutions. For example, FAO and government partnership. The Food and Agriculture Organization collaborates with governments to improve countries' agricultural sectors and ensure food security. The Red Cross and national governments work together to rapidly respond to natural disasters and increase community resilience. Global networks play an important role in sharing information, financial support, and policy development. These networks enable countries to collaborate to develop more effective adaptation and mitigation strategies. For example, the Paris Agreement promotes both environmental and social sustainability by cooperating among countries to combat climate change. For example, the Global Partnership for Education increases social resilience by supporting access to quality education for children in poor countries. And for example, UNICEF and the Global Child Protection Network collaborate with governments and NGOs to ensure children are protected in crisis areas. Sustainable policies for adaptation and mitigation. Sustainable policies aim to increase social adaptation and resilience to crisis. These policies developed for adaptation and mitigation ensure that societies are better prepared for economic, social, and environmental challenges. First, design of social policies for adaptation and mitigation. Targeted social security systems. Expansion of social safety nets to support vulnerable segments of society during times of crisis. For example, during the pandemic, many countries expanded cash transfer programs for low-income families. Disaster risk reduction policies. Development of measures against climate change, natural disasters, and other crises. For example, the Cyclone Preparedness Program in Bangladesh is an example of a policy that raises public awareness of storms and encourages them to take precautions. Second, educational awareness policies. The contribution of individuals to sustainable development can be increased through education. Curricula for sustainable development goals, making changes to school curricula to raise sustainability awareness among children and youth. For example, Finland's environmental and sustainability focused education programs. Societal awareness campaigns, raising awareness of sustainability issues through media, local governments, and NGOs. For example, India's Swachh Bharat Abhiyan Clean India movement is a campaign to raise awareness of cleanliness and hygiene. And the third, economic and urban planning policies. Inclusive employment policies, reducing economic inequalities by increasing the participation of disadvantaged groups in the workforce. For example, Germany's immigrant integration policies support the inclusion of individuals of foreign origin in the workforce. Sustainable city policies, designing city infrastructure to support both environmental and social sustainability. For example, Singapore's green city planning promotes energy conservation and social adaptation. The role and responsibilities of individuals in social sustainability. Individuals are main actors of sustainability. The role of individuals in social sustainability is directly related to actions that increase the resilience of society and reduce inequalities. First, encouraging sustainable behaviors, changing consumption habits. Individuals can support sustainable production processes by choosing ethical and environmentally friendly products. For example, reducing carbon footprint and contributing to the local economy by purchasing local products. Social participation and volunteering. Volunteering is projects targeting environmental and social issues. For example, participating in tree planting campaigns or taking part in local charities. Second, raising awareness. Individuals can promote social harmony by spreading awareness of sustainable living in their environment, using social media, effective use of digital platforms to raise awareness of sustainability issues. For example, social media campaigns by climate activists have reached large audiences and create change. Leadership in local communities, inspiring society by leading local sustainability projects. For example, leading neighborhood-based recycling projects. Third, education and conscious choices. Contributing through education, raising the general awareness level of society by increasing their own knowledge and sharing this knowledge. For example, individuals who are educators address sustainability issues in their classes, making conscious choices, making sustainable choices in daily life, from energy consumption to transportation. For example, choosing public transportation, adopting a recycling habit, or using energy-saving light bulbs. And what is being done in the world right now regarding adaptation and mitigation? Changing consumption habits. Fair trade. Individuals with ethical consumption awareness preferring fair trade products contribute to the economic sustainability of small farmers. Sweden, zero waste markets. Markets in Sweden where individuals buy unpackaged products, reduce waste, and increase sustainability awareness. Community participation and volunteering. Tree planting campaigns. Mass tree planting events organized in the Gujarat state of India have increased the contribution of local people to the fight against climate change. Local aid projects, stationary support projects for needy students organized by local volunteers in Turkey. Use of social media. Greta Thunberg and the Fridays for Future movement raised awareness about climate action by reaching large audience through social media. Plastic-free challenge, individual and collective initiatives encouraging the reduction of plastic consumption. Leadership in local communities. Turkey may be ruled by its recycling projects. Recycling collection campaigns organized by local leaders enable individuals to take an active role. Contributing through education. UNESCO's Education Volunteers Program, supporting community resilience by increasing access to education by volunteer teachers in rural areas. Community-based workshops, sustainable agricultural practices are held in local workshops to increase individuals' income sources. Making conscious choices using public transport. Individuals in London use bike-sharing systems to reduce their carbon footprint. Recycling habits. In Japan, it has become a social norm for individuals to contribute to recycling by separating waste into categories. Finally, I would like to thank you for attending.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your participation. Yes, now I want to talk about principles of adaptation and mitigation based on SDGs, which dear professors talked about it, but now I'm going to summarize it and talking about them, how to manage it as a principles of adaptation and mitigation based on the SDGs that professor talking about it. And as I said, they mentioned that about adaptation and mitigation in these areas. My name is Farhad Bolouri, as a doctoral candidate and researcher assistant in the Faculty of Civil and Environmental Engineering. Now, yes. We have 8 principles of adaptation and 7 principles of mitigation. In total, we have 15 principles based on SDGs. First one about adaptation is sustainable adaptation. Adaptation efforts should be socially, financially, and environmentally sustainable, which means that they must reduce vulnerability and enhance adaptive capacity without compromising other sustainability objectives. For instance, adaptation strategies should align with climate mitigation goals and support biodiversity conservation, responsible resources management, and pollution prevention. Second one is evidence-based approach. Adaptation planning must be informed by the latest scientific knowledge and data regarding climate risk. This includes addressing past climate variability and correct weather extremes of formulate effective responses tailored to local conditions. Third one is place-based strategies. There is no universal solution for adaptation. Strategies should be customized to fit the specific local and regional context. This involves understanding the unique risks and vulnerabilities of an area while also considering the interconnectedness with neighboring regions. Fourth one is inclusivity and social justice. Effective adaptation requires the involvement of diverse stakeholders, particularly marginalized groups such as women, youth, and indigenous people, ensuring that these groups have a voice in decision-making process fosters equitable outcomes and enhances community acceptance of adaptation measures. Fifth is continuous monitoring and improvement. Adaptation strategies should include mechanisms for ongoing evaluation using clear indicators. This allows for continuous learning and improvement, ensuring that policies remain effective in changing circumstances. Sixth one is flexibility and iterative process. Given the uncertainties associated with future climate conditions, adaptation planning should be flexible and iterative. This means plans should be regularly updated based on new information and lessons learned from previous action. Seventh one is integration with sustainable development goals. Adaptation must be integrated into border development strategies to enhance resilience against climate impacts while also promoting economic growth and social equity. For example, improving food security through sustainable agriculture practices not only aids in adaptation, but also align with SDG 2 Zero Hunger and SDG 13 Climate Action, And eighth, the last one about the principle of adaptation based on SDGs is local ownership of adaptation efforts. Empowering local communities by developing decision-making authority ensures that adaptation actions are relevant and effectively address local needs. This principle emphasizes the importance of local knowledge and capacities in shaping adaptation responses. Now we are going to principles of mitigation based on SDGs. First one is integrated approach. Mitigation strategies must be integrated into border development frameworks. This ensures that climate action supports multiple SDGs, such as poverty reduction, SDG 1, food security, SDG 2, and sustainable cities, SDG 11. For instance, promoting sustainable agriculture practices can reduce emission while improving food security and livelihoods. Second one is sustainable resources management. Effective mitigation involves improving the efficiency of resources use, energy, water, and land, By adopting practices that enhance productivity while minimizing waste, countries can achieve economic growth without exacerbating environmental degradation. This principle supports SDG 12, responsible consumption and production, and SDG 15, life and land, by promoting sustainable land management and conservation efforts. Third one is technological innovations. Investing in clean technologies in circular for reducing emissions. Transporting from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources like solar, wind, and geothermal power not only mitigates climate change, but also promotes energy security and job creation, aligning with SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, and SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. Fourth is social equity and inclusion. Mitigation efforts should prioritize social equity by addressing the needs of vulnerable populations. Policymaking must consider potential trade-offs that could exacerbate inequalities, ensuring that all communities benefit from climate action. Engaging marginalized group in decision-making process help create inclusive policies that support SDG 10, reduced inequalities. Fifth one is international cooperation. Global cooperation is vital for effective climate mitigation. Initiatives like the Paris Agreement emphasize collective action to limit global warming, requiring countries to work together to technology transfer, financing, and capacity building. These align with SDG 17, partnership for SDG for goals, fostering collaboration across nations to achieve shared climate objectives. Sixth one is monitoring and accountability. Establishing robust monitoring systems is essential for tracking process in mitigation efforts. This includes setting measurable targets and indicators that align with SDGs to ensure accountability and transparency in achieving climate goals. Regular assessments can help adjust strategies based on effectiveness and emerging challenges. The last one is resilience building. Mitigation strategies should also enhance resilience against climate impacts. By investing in infrastructure that can withstand climate-related distributions, communities can protect their development gain while contributing to SDG 13 climate action through proactive measures. And these are my references for both issues, principles of adaptation and mitigation and SDGs. And thank you so much for your attention, and see you in our next events. Thank you so much. See you.
Hayat hızla akıyor ve biz bu hızı seviyoruz. Her güne heyecanla başlıyor, her anı doya doya yaşıyoruz. İlk günkü heyecanımızla yılları aşıyoruz. Zaman akarken biz de kendimizi arıyoruz. Heyecanla, merakla. Sen de kendini mi arıyorsun? O zaman zamana yetiş. Bu sadece kendini bulmakla ilgili değil. Asıl heyecan kendini yaratmakta. Bir şeyler mi yaratmak istiyorsun? Mükemmel. Metali işlemeyi, bir bina yapmayı, bir iş kurmayı, hatta bir şehir kurmayı öğren. Hayat kurtarmak, teknoloji geliştirmek, üretmek. Hepsi burada. Ve burada tüm deneyimler profesyonellerle yan yana. Ancak hızlı ilerlemelisin. Çünkü bugün şimdi gerçekleşiyor ve yarın çok yakın. Hayatta öne geçmek istiyorsan önce zamanın önüne geçeceksin. Hep ileri gideceksin. Bu Doktor Suat İrfan Günsel. Tanıyor musun? Onun da söylediği gibi. Üniversiteler toplumların dokuma tezgahıdır. Toplumları geliştirir, dönüştürür ve gelişmesini sağlar. O burayı bugünden yarına hazırlamak için kurdu. Senin için, ileriye gitmek için. Yana ya da geriye değil. Sadece ileri. Çünkü gelecek çok yakın. Hadi harekete geç. Fikirlerin ne kadar ileride olursa yarına o kadar yaklaşırsın. Yanındakileri de geleceğe taşırsın. Bu senin geleceğin, senin fırsatın şimdi. Hadi yarın yakın. Hepimizi ileriye götür.